So, so Anne Marie, I'm going to make the assumption I'll put the chat box up so I can actually see it. You need to say something, then I'll be looking for your chat off to the side. Just move that over. Sorry. And who doesn't have a camera? Oh, Anne Marie, I can actually just put it right over her little visual and then I won't miss anything. Okay, great. You want to hit, oh, you're recording already. Fantastic, as I fumble around. We'll call the meeting to order. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as it's presented? I'll need you to type in Anne Marie. Oh, yeah. Moved for Anne Marie, and all those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, so bylaw draft 2020, tax rate bylaw 698 2020. Yeah, sorry, we need to, Claudia, oh, sorry, actually move for discussion, please. Councillor Cole? Okay, and Anne Marie is seconded. Great, all those, oh, never mind, we're not voting on it yet. Okay, so Claudia, I just wanted to, if you wanted to review anything, but we need to give this first, second, third, and final reading, correct?
Thank you, Mayor Wickstrom. Actually, no, we just need to confirm what the council would like to do. So a couple things I should let you know. On page 2, in overview, the paragraph, it says, it's about 2/3 of the way down. It says order of the Lieutenant Governor in Council number 158 dated March 25th. That should be 2010, not 2020. That's when that order was made, just to make sure that that is corrected. That was my typing error. Yeah, so this is just an overview to just showing council the changes this year. So the changes in the rate, also the changes in you know, what the proposed municipal tax rate will be for 2020, and showing the differences in the assessed values, and then also showing an average assessment value as per the property values is about 200 and, you know, just under 200 and, or just over 224,000, and that the actual taxes, if your house did not increase, your actual property and water garbage taxes will have gone down. So, but of course, if your house increased, there could be a change there. We do have to, as you know, pay the regional district and the regional hospital for their taxes, and they're due August the 1st. And these are the amounts that are due this year. So because of the changes with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, with their reduction of rates for the school tax in classes 4, 5, and 6, and then also the change of when the penalty will apply, and they have stated that would be October the 1st. So what I'm proposing is that we remain with the due date of July the 2nd, but we change the penalty date to October the 1st. This actually, I think will, you know, we do have some property owners already paying, they pay monthly or they pay quarterly. Also, hopefully we will get the mortgage companies will be paying on the due date, which will help with our cash flow. And then there are always those residents that will pay on that due date, but we basically given them about another 89 days to pay, because 90 days we will impose the penalty. The penalty can be changed. This is just what we brought forward as 10% is the norm. I certainly wouldn't go below 5% though. I think we do have to have an incentive to have people pay. So the tax rate bylaw, it's in draft form, and we do need to have, the Ministry of Finance does require that we tell them our tax due date by May the 6th. So we definitely need to have that decision made as soon as possible. One of the parts here to note that on page 6 of the tax rate bylaw, we have there that people can opt, and you have to legally put this in there, that people may opt for the general tax scheme, which I don't know why they would, because the general tax scheme is payment due July the 2nd, penalty July the 3rd. But we do have to put something in there and a date. So we've put in June the 1st, but we can certainly make that June the 15th. I wouldn't make it after, like, too much later. They have to let us know which tax scheme, excuse me, they don't have to let us know. They have to only let us know if they want to use the general tax scheme. But as I said before, I don't really see why somebody would want to do that. So yeah, so this is proposed bylaw. It was prepared with myself and Lidstone. So I think I'm fairly confident in going forward with this bylaw as per council's direction.
Claudia, I have a question for you before I take questions from council. So Lidstone, that means it was vetted by by legal, which was something that the province recommended, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and if, so we're not adopting the bylaw, but because the government needs to know by May the 6th, the date would be something we could not change. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and do we also have to decide what the penalty might be?
I beg your pardon?
Does the penalty have to be firm as well?
Well, I think our next step would be at the next meeting. And at that point, I mean, we can certainly do first and second reading if council decides today. But our next step would be at the next regular council meeting, which I believe is next Tuesday. Then we do first, second, third, and adopt. So
okay. And one last question. So I guess this is where I'm having not difficulty, but you know, we're navigating new waters. So just I'm asking this mainly for the public. Normally, if we don't do any, well, if we do first and second adoption of a bylaw, there is an understanding that there can be some changes. But this isn't really the case with this, other than that percentage, right? Because once the government knows it, we can't pull back that date if we wanted to.
Correct. They need to know by May the 6th the date, our tax due date. They aren't asking for the penalty date. They are just asking for the tax due date.
Okay. Council, questions for Claudia? None. Anne-Marie, did you have any questions for Claudia? Just waiting for her to type. I guess a question I would have for council is, given that our taxpayers, our residents have gone through a lengthy strike, and giving them relief on a penalty is something that we could do for them, would council entertain the idea of reducing that penalty to 5%? Have a yes from Anne-Marie.
We're not deciding that right now.
Well, I guess that's up to you guys. I was kind of hoping we would. I don't really know. Well, I mean, never mind. I'm not going to say anything else.
I am not in favor of that. I think, Claudia, are we moving the tax sale date off a year? Are we working on that?
We did that at the last meeting, didn't we?
Through the mayor, may I answer?
Sorry, go ahead. Go
Yep.
ahead.
Yes, you actually made a resolution last meeting to postpone the tax sale date to 2021. So that's not an issue with this bylaw.
Okay. Yeah, I feel there's enough protection in there for the homeowner to like not lose their place if they have to pay a penalty. That's a whole nother year, and it takes, you know, so now it would be like 5 years before you lose your house. So I think there's enough protection in there for people to not lose their house, but still pay a penalty if they can't meet the deadline.
Yeah, I agree with you in that I don't want to see anybody lose their house. But I guess I'm more looking on the idea that people have had to defer so much and probably have other bills that they're paying interest on as well. And was thinking simply of easing that inevitable penalty for some. But we don't have to decide that today. We'll put that on the next agenda and have that discussion with the full council then.
Just maybe some more clarity from Claudia, that 10% fee is, I'm just a little unsure. If somebody doesn't pay their taxes, the province steps in and pays it, and or if Claudia could just explain that for me. Like
Certainly,
we're not out the money if somebody doesn't pay their taxes. It's in a roundabout way, it comes to us in the meantime until it's paid, or clarification?
Through the mayor, may I answer, Councillor
Yes,
Cole?
go ahead.
So, Councillor Cole, actually, no, the province does not come in and pay the taxes unless they have set up a tax deferment program. I know that some municipalities, and that letter was brought forward, I believe, at the last council meeting, that they are asking the province to look at bringing back the tax deferment program for the hardship tax deferment program that was implemented in 2008, 2009 when there was a financial crisis. So that being said, the only way that the government would actually pay the taxes if somebody applied and was followed all the criteria to be part of the tax deferment program. So what we're doing, and what the province has done is they said for the school taxes, they were trying to help businesses. So I actually have the figures here for major, and this is just because of what we our assessed values, but for school taxes, major industry is went from $3,475 to 25 cents this year. Light industry in 19 was basically $54,000, and they're paying $15,000 this year, $15,700. Business class for school last year was 109, and this year it's 33,000. Managed forest was 4,000. This year it's 24 cents. Recreation nonprofit was $763, and this year it's 276. So what they've done is they've basically pulled back the taxes for businesses. The other part of this is the school taxes are, which will include the police because they're both paid through the same program, are not due till the end of December. So what that's done is people pay their taxes, we'll get to hold that money for that much longer, and we don't have to pay them. So what we're trying to do is to make things more easier. I suppose if we're going to, they've given a break to the businesses and said, well, and they've also changed their due date basically to September the 30th because their penalty date is October the 1st. And so what we're trying to do is in somewhat stay in line with what the province is doing, but keeping our due date because we do want to have some income coming in, some property tax income coming in. We do need that for our cash flows. The town is in a fairly good position because you have quite a few reserves that we can borrow from this year, and pay back when that money comes back in. Does that help answer your question, I hope?
That does. I have another question. Do you have a sense that other municipalities are lowering their penalty rate?
Yes, I do. I have quite a few. Some are staying the same, some are changed. I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios out there right now, but I do say the majority are going with this method. As to the actual penalty rate, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that there are some communities that have lowered that penalty rate just to help ease the burden on the taxpayers.
I can tell you on the call that I was at with AVICC, granted there was only about 20 people on that, but I would say without exception, they were reducing the penalty. Some to zero, which I wouldn't recommend because then there's no incentive for people to pay, but most of them have reduced.
Okay, another question. Mayor Wickstrom or Claudia, is there like a movement or anything to just do it for businesses, or it's kind of across the board to reduce that penalty? Or we're thinking across the board, I guess is what we're discussing.
No, I think we're thinking just for, is this just for residences, Claudia, or is that across the board? Sorry, please, I'll defer to you.
That is across the board. So it's when you put a penalty on, it's not, you don't, normally we don't, it's not, well, if you're residents, you get this penalty. If you're this one, you get this penalty. There's only one set penalty. So whatever you decide, that's a penalty that falls into all classes if they do not pay. So basically, we're asking for the due date to be July the 2nd, but we're actually kind of deferring the payment until September the 30th, because the penalty will be applied if taxes are not paid on October the 1st. So we're basically giving some of those some people are going to pay when the due date is, and some people are going to find that it's easier to do that because regardless, they're still going to have to pay. And if they don't pay by a certain date, they do get a penalty charged on their taxes. And then after that, they also will have interest charge as well once the year comes through. So we will continue also to try to collect those taxes that are in deferment this year, that are already in delinquent, I should say, not deferment, sorry, in arrears and delinquent, and try to get people to pay, because we don't want to see people fall further behind. And we will encourage and try to, try to work out different payment plans to get them to get their taxes up, because they'll actually, by the time next tax sale comes around, those people will be 4 years behind if they're, in delinquent. Does that answer the question?
Go ahead, Councillor Coe.
It does. So say we lowered it to 5%. I'm wavering now because 10 is pretty high percentage, especially the interest rates have dropped. So say I didn't pay taxes, 5% penalty. Would that just be for 1 year, or I have troubles for 4 or 5 years, and then I'm just paying that? If we lower the rate, I pay that lower rate for multiple years. What happens if we change it back next year? Are we held to the lower rate? Claudia, do you understand my?
Yes. This year, is that what you're asking, or is this continue on?
Yes, I'm saying if we lower the rate now, and my property goes into tax sale, is that lower rate going to be for the second, third, or fourth year until it's cleared up?
Or may I answer?
Yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
Okay. Actually, the penalty charge is a one-time charge. So this year, so this is part of why we sought legal advice in preparing this tax rate bylaw, because it's a little bit different when you're doing an alternative tax rate bylaw. So this tax rate bylaw, every year you do a new tax rate bylaw. So this year we are asking to do, or we're looking at doing an alternative one. With that, it's a one-time charge. So if you do not pay your taxes by September the 30th, then October the 1st, you will be charged a one-time penalty. So if you owed $1,000 right now, you'd pay 100, correct? But you know, if we put it to 5%, let's say, then you're going to owe that is added on. So it's just another added on charge basically to your taxes. After that, you don't start having interest on those outstanding until they become into arrears. So next year, when moving forward, and if things are all back to normal and everybody is, you know, recuperated from the strike of the forestry industry and also COVID, we're hoping, then we can go back to the general tax scheme. And that would be, your taxes are due on July the 2nd, the penalty is on July the 3rd, and then it is legislated to be 10%. So it's only when you can do an alternative tax rate that you can actually change the penalty. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, one time. So yeah, it doesn't keep getting rolled over year after year. Unless you don't pay your taxes year after year, you pay the penalty every year. Okay.
And Claudia, that 10% is that part of legislation?
Yes, it is, but it's only when you use the general tax scheme, which is normally what everybody uses on a yearly basis.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm prepared to make a motion to lower that to 5%.
Okay, would I have a seconder for that? Anne-Marie says seconded. Do you need to see it written down, or just, is that pretty straightforward?
Oh, I need to see it written down this is for Ryan.
Go ahead, Pete. Oh, do you have the, okay. Oh, you got it there. Okay, excellent. Lowered the penalty to 5%. So any further discussion on that? Okay, so seeing none. So then the motion is that council give consideration of the alternate tax scheme 2020 tax due date of July 2nd, 2020, and a 5% penalty for all property classes applied October 1st. All those in favor? Anne-Marie, just waiting for her. Oh, sorry. So that sorry, I don't know. I think I jumped ahead. So Derek had motioned it, and Marie had seconded it, and now she's saying she is in favor. Sorry, I jumped ahead there. Go ahead, Pete. Just procedurally that I did that right.
Just double checking, because the motion was to lower the penalty to 5%, and then
oh, and then I said the rest of it. Yeah, okay. All right. So okay.
Did you want to amend the motion?
Did you want to amend it to say that what she gives as a recommendation with the 5%, what I read out? Is that okay?
Yes, but see it on the screen, please.
So yeah, sorry, my apologies. I jumped ahead, and you're absolutely correct procedurally. I made a mistake there. So you can basically just copy and paste the recommendation, I think, and just change it to the 5%.
Yeah, I believe Laura's doing that right now.
Okay.
We should see it on the screen in a second.
Okay. Are you amicable to that amendment? Well, actually, I'll wait, Anne-Marie, till you can read it, and then you can let me know if you're okay with that amendment as well. Thanks for that, Pete. It's important and I don't want to make a mistake here, so I appreciate that.
Laura's looking for clarification on that motion again.
So it would be, if she just took the recommendation that council give consideration of the alternate tax scheme bylaw due dates of July 2nd and a 10% penalty, or sorry, 5% penalty for all property classes applied October 1st, 2020. So basically, if she just copy and paste that recommendation and takes out the, or whatever council considered, that would be the motion with the 5% instead of 10. But we can do it separate, the 5% first, and then decide whether we want to change the, it's completely up to you. I'm sensing though that council is saying aligning it with the business tax deadlines that the government has done. Yeah, okay. So then everybody's.
If Laura doesn't have it, I do have it here.
Good enough
Oh,
for me.
she's got it.
Oh, she's got it. Okay, there we go. Consideration of the alternate tax scheme for 2020 date of July 2nd, 2020, and a penalty for all, yeah, okay. Property classes applied October 1st. Is that good, Derek?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. And Anne Marie, are you okay with that amendment?